Yeah, let's get right to our top story on what was supposed to be the holiest of days, those near simultaneous Easter Sunday bombings at churches and hotels throughout Sri Lanka.
That's right. As mentioned, authorities now say at least 290 people have died. More than 500 others are wounded, and several Americans are among the victims.
The investigation has already led to 24 arrests. Sri Lankan officials blaming a local militant group for the attacks, but they believe that the group had help from foreign terrorist organizations.
The U.S. State Department has revised its travel warning to Sri Lanka, saying terrorist groups continue plotting possible attacks there. Let's get to NBC's chief global correspondent, Bill Neely. He's got the latest. Bill, good morning to you.
Good morning, Savannah. You join me at the scene of another explosion, another bomb, just about 30 minutes ago, about 200 yards down the road. Fortunately, the police had moved us in this direction before that went off. And I'm at the scene of a shattered church where more than 70 worshippers died. Dozens of tourists killed also in this city. Here at St. Anthony's Church, one eyewitness described the scene after the attack. He said, on the ground, it was a river of blood. In the air, ash falling like snow.
An Easter morning that will never be forgotten. Worshippers at Mass, the victims of mass murder. Hotel restaurants blown to pieces. Among the hundreds dead and injured, 2 Americans confirmed killed, 1 wounded, 1 unaccounted for. Just before 9, the first blast at St. Anthony's Church in Colombo, captured on a dashcam video. Inside, carnage. Families praying together, died together. Rescuers working amid blood-stained pews.
Nearly half of all the victims, dead and injured, were praying here at St. Anthony's Church when they were blown up by a suicide bomber. The explosion ripping the roof off the church and shattering glass you can still see on the road.
I just heard the explosion. I had never heard an explosion like that.
Minutes later, an explosion ripped through a second church. Another suicide bomber had blown himself up, killing more than 50 worshippers. Then in the heart of Colombo, the first of 3 explosions targeting tourists at luxury hotels. At the Cinnamon Grand, a man lined up at the breakfast buffet, then detonated his bomb. American Dieter Kowalski is one of 8 guests unaccounted for. Around 9 o'clock at the Shangri-La, 2 suicide bombers blew themselves up in the restaurant and lobby. Hours later, special forces raided an apartment. A bomb exploded. 3 police were killed. Authorities say this is where the attacks were planned. No one has claimed them. Authorities are blaming a little-known local Islamist group. But the government tells NBC News it had a tip-off that suicide bombers would attack churches the target. Yet on Easter Sunday morning, there was no protection here.
Why weren't the churches protected if you had a warning?
Well, how many churches to be protected? But we informed that there is we never expected an attack of this magnitude.
And Bill, you mentioned that there was an explosion, I think I heard you say just a few minutes ago, behind where you're standing. What do you know about that?
Yeah, well, they didn't expect this one either. Yeah, it happened about 200 yards up the road. Police had identified a white van. We filmed it with its doors open. They were looking into it when suddenly there was a massive, deafening explosion. I mean, a couple of questions. Number one, how did it get in here in the first place? And number two, clearly this threat has not gone away. Islamists often plant secondary devices to catch police or soldiers or first responders, but this is more than a day after the attack on the church here. Police say they know who carried out most of the explosions. It's one group. Yes, it's a radical Islamist group. It promotes ISIS. The odd thing is it has no history of anything like this. Police also questioning more than 20 suspects.
Bill, with so many still missing and so many wounded, is it reasonable to expect that the number of casualties will rise?
I think it is, Craig, yes. I mean, you've got more than 500 people injured. Many of those are in the hospitals with really very, very serious injuries. So everyone here is braced for that death toll to rise.
All right. Bill Neely there for us in Sri Lanka. Bill, thank you. Now back here to the latest fights tied to the release of the Mueller report. Top Democrats in Congress raising the possibility of impeachment proceedings against President Trump. NBC White House correspondent Kristen Welker has more on that. Kristen, good morning to you.
Craig, good morning to you. We're here live on the White House South Lawn where the president and First Lady are about to host the 141st Easter egg roll. It's a time-honored tradition here at the White House. It comes as President Trump just returned from Florida overnight where he was celebrating Easter and also fuming about some of the revelations in the Mueller report. The president back at the White House this morning after spending Easter Sunday with his family in Florida, attending service and tweeting about the Mueller report, calling it a hit job. The president repeatedly attacking the special counsel's findings, all while maintaining that he's never been happier or more content. Mueller leaving an Easter service in Washington, declining to answer questions from NBC News.
Sir, could I ask you a couple of questions? Will you testify before Congress, sir?
No comment.
The president's personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, raising eyebrows when asked why members of the Trump campaign welcomed help from Russia.
There's nothing wrong with taking information from Russians.
It is now okay for political campaigns to work with material stolen by foreign adversaries?
It depends on the stolen material.
House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jerry Nadler has subpoenaed the Justice Department for the full, unredacted report, arguing it's now up to Congress to investigate, not ruling out impeachment.
We may get to that, we may not. As I've said before, it is our job to go through all the evidence.
Do you think this is impeachable?
If proven, some of this would be impeachable, yes.
All right.
Obstruction of justice, if proven, would be impeachable.
The president tweeting late Sunday, how do you impeach a Republican president for a crime that was committed by the Democrats? An allegation he's repeated frequently without any evidence. Democrats are facing mounting pressure on impeachment from some 2020 presidential contenders, led by progressive Senator Elizabeth Warren.
We cannot be an America that says it is okay for a president of the United States to try to block investigations into a foreign attack on our country.
Other candidates argue the decision should be up to House Democrats.
I'm going to leave that to those members of the House who, as they review those findings, can make that decision.
So, Kristen, we just heard from Beto O'Rourke there and Senator Warren. There seems to be this growing divide among Democrats who are willing to talk impeachment. What are they saying on Capitol Hill?
I think that's the right way to think about it, Craig. Right now, Democrats are mixed on the issue. Of course, you have the progressive branch of the party saying it's time to get serious about talking about impeachment. And what we saw over the weekend is an increasing number of establishment Republicans saying the issue can't be taken off the table, like Congressman Elijah Cummings, for example. But other party leaders more skeptical. There's a political reality here. Republicans control the Senate, so it's hard to see that it goes anywhere. And of course, they are saying the next step is we want to hear from special counsel Robert Mueller himself. We want to see that full unredacted report. And they don't want this to backfire in 2020. For her part, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is set to hold a conference call to discuss next steps later today. Craig and Savannah.
Kristen Welker at the White House. Kristen, thank you.
A U.S. Army sergeant died Sunday during a skydiving accident in North Carolina. Police say Sergeant First Class Justin Goff was killed after his parachute failed to open during a recreational skydiving trip. They called it a freak accident. They said high winds likely played a role there. The 29-year-old was from Florida and stationed at Fort Bragg in Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Also this morning, there is new trouble for Boeing as the company works to get its 737 MAX jets back in the air after two deadly crashes. A new report is calling the production of another plane into question. NBC's Gabe Gutierrez has that story for us this morning from Charleston. Gabe, good morning.
Craig, good morning. 10 years ago, Boeing broke ground on this facility, which makes the company's 787 Dreamliner. Now, some past and present employees here are reportedly saying that Boeing has cared more about quantity than quality. This morning, Boeing is under new scrutiny involving another plane, its 787 Dreamliner. It's built at a North Charleston, South Carolina factory reportedly plagued by shoddy production and weak oversight that have threatened to compromise safety, according to an investigation by the New York Times that looked at hundreds of pages of documents and interviewed more than a dozen employees, past and present.
From what I've seen building the airplanes here at Charleston, I don't feel they're in a safe and airworthy condition. So this is my retirement plaque.
John Barnett retired in 2017 after working as a Boeing quality manager for more than 30 years and has since filed a retaliation complaint with the Labor Department. Boeing says it has substantiated and is fixing 2 out of 10 claims Barnett raised, one of them metal slivers created during installation that were left dangling over crucial wiring inside planes.
As over time, these metal shavings are going to migrate down into these boxes or into the electrical connectors, start a fire, and the last thing you want at 40,000 feet is a fire.
Barnett says so-called foreign object debris is common when planes are built, but employees are expected to clean up after themselves. The Times reports in 2017 the FAA ordered the metal shavings to be removed from planes before delivery, and that Boeing determined that the issue does not present a flight safety issue. Boeing tells NBC News it's working with the supplier to redesign the nut that resulted in the slivers. According to the Times investigation, employees filed nearly a dozen whistleblower claims and safety complaints with federal regulators, adding there is no evidence that problems in the plant led to any major safety incidents. The new allegations come as Boeing is already under investigation for its 737 MAX and the plane's certification process after 2 deadly crashes in a matter of months claimed more than 300 lives. That aircraft remains grounded worldwide. In response to the Times investigation, the FAA tells NBC News safety is the FAA's top priority. We thoroughly investigate whistleblower complaints and take action if the allegations are substantiated. A Boeing official sent an internal letter to its employees saying the Times piece paints a skewed and inaccurate picture of the program and of our team. Boeing's president Kevin McAllister says the South Carolina factory is producing the highest levels of quality in our history, and that safety and quality are at the core of Boeing's values. There is nothing more important than that.
So, Gabe, that's what Boeing has to say. How about their customers, the airlines? What are they saying about these allegations about the Dreamliner?
Well, Savannah, American Airlines is standing by the Dreamliner, telling NBC News that they have full confidence in the 42 787s they currently have in their fleet, and adding that they've ordered even more. Savannah?
Gabe Gutierrez, thank you very much.
Now to a dramatic rescue. Good Samaritans diving into a Philadelphia river to help a trapped motorist. Check this out. Take a look here. You can see people swimming out to an SUV there, sinking in the middle of the river. Witnesses say they could hear the woman banging on the window from inside that vehicle. Eventually, rescuers used a tire iron to break her free and pull her to safety.
Everybody's okay, and it's just what anyone would do. So glad we could help.
The woman was conscious on the way to the hospital. She is expected to make a full recovery. Can you imagine what would have happened had they not been there?
Yeah, I think they're pretty brave. He said anybody would do it. I don't know. I think they're very heroic. Let's get a check of the weather. Dylan's in for Al this morning. Dylan, good morning.
Good morning, guys. You know, we had a pretty quiet day across the Northeast, but today we've got a little area of low pressure that's sitting just off the coast of Delaware. That's going to continue to move to the north, so it might just clip the Jersey Shore and western Long Island with some rain, but we have a much better chance of some of that heavier rain across eastern Long Island and up across New England as well. So this area of low pressure moves to the north today. We'll see an increasing threat of heavy rain through Boston, back through Hartford, across Cape Cod, and through central and eastern Long Island. Then, as we go into tonight, it moves up across down East Maine and even clips New Hampshire as well. So this system will pull away as we go into early tomorrow, and then we're waiting on a cold front that will just bring some run-of-the-mill thunderstorms later in the late evening and overnight on Tuesday as that cold front moves through. We could see the chance of some isolated flash flooding just because of the intensity of some of those downpours, and we could see as much as about 1 to 2 inches of rain, especially in and around Boston and up across the North Shore. Elsewhere, we're looking at about a half an inch up to an inch out of this small little system.